Welcome to Sloan News Day Live. My name is Steve Poikinen. I am here in sweltering Boulder Creek, California, where our state flag is the flannel shirt, our state bird is the pit bull, and our state flower is cannabis. I am joined this afternoon by my friend Brook Hines, who's from the Progressive News Network. That show airs Sundays at 7 Eastern.
That's right.
And 4 Pacific. And you can check her out. Please do. She's got an amazing show. Brooke, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know if I have a lot of sympathy for sweltering Northern California. I feel like we're in upper 90s here in Florida. I'll trade you.
It was 103 2 days ago, or yesterday.
Oh, that's not right.
Yesterday or the day before. No, it was yesterday. It's been a long day. Today it's supposed to be a balmy like 96.
Okay, so you're in the exact same boat.
A couple of weeks ago, it was maybe 50 degrees at the hottest part of the day.
Oh wow. Yeah. That's not right.
Most elaborate Chinese hoax ever.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have you back on because when the first time you were on here, we had a follow-up thread where you put forth this idea that 2020 could easily be a YouTube election. And that as people discover more and more that traditional media outlets are full of shit. Right now it's 72% of the country, according to a survey that was done in an article that Mint Press News published. 72% of the country thinks corporate media is full of shit. People are more and more gravitating to independent outlets to get their media, and YouTube presents every conceivable side along with the corporate narrative. We just witnessed a brand new adpocalypse with the incendiary dust up over Steven Crowder and Carlos Maza, and to a lesser degree Jimmy Dore, and how that's snowballing, and how when you look past the melee, it's a clear cut and dry business decision of a giant cable company, Comcast, and its subsidiary NBC, who own Vox, putting more pressure on YouTube for advertising. Mm-hmm. That all coincides with the Save the Net Act and the action that's been taking place all day with the epic day of live streaming that I was on earlier. Big shout out to Fight for the Future, and those guys for putting it all together. It's a lot to handle a ton of people all at once who really have something to say. It got really chaotic, and they're fucking they're good folks for guiding everybody through that. It's a long walk to say this has more to do with information control than anything overall. But I would like to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, I'm actually stunned by the number of 72% of Americans polled are aware that the media is bullshit. I would have thought that number would have been a lot lower. So I think we're even more on track for a YouTube election in 2020, because look, what's happened in the last couple of years is CNN, MSNBC, and Fox have their own narrative, and it's a very narrow narrative. So it's either going to be Russia or it's going to be the candidate of the week. So it's Elizabeth Warren right now. It was Joe Biden before that. And if you want to see anything else, you have to find it. And it's not as difficult to find it now as it used to be. So wherever you're at on social media, people are sharing shows like your show, and everything that you can access on YouTube. Like if I was to go through my YouTube list right now, you'd have everything from Jimmy Dore to the Young Turks, which I haven't watched in forever. The Rational National, which I think I watched maybe once or twice. Kim Iverson, which is her show's really good. I think a lot of people are like me too. Like you will find something that you like and subscribe to it, and whether or not you use it all the time depends on how much that media is working for you. But otherwise, you're going to follow the link from a story or from a stream that you've already found on social media.
I agree. And that circling back a little bit, there's a handful of different organizations that have come out with studies showing how more often, especially in the like 45 down demographic, goes to social media for not just their information, but sadly their activism.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the sphere in which not just millennials, Gen Xers, generations. This is the sphere that we're all ostensibly participating in the most. Tragically, in my opinion, but hey, we're all here right now, so let's fucking enjoy it. It's the sphere that we're participating in. It's where the information shared. It's where the quote unquote activism takes place, or at least the keyboard activism takes place. So the ability for those mainstream channels to get their narrative out has become imperative. And they, you over the last several years, you've seen more and more of a situation where if you log in onto YouTube, even if it's on your own channel, the first thing that's being pushed is like CNN or MSNBC, or I've seen like Rachel Maddow's show specifically pushed as like live right now before my friends' shows that I have subscribed to. It's not only is it gross, it's fucking frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a definite need to want to control that space, and we're seeing that play out with the death of net neutrality.
Mm-hmm.
If Mitch McConnell continues to stall in this, it already passed in the House. There were a lot of people who helped pass that bill that came on the Epic live stream today to talk about it. If Mitch McConnell is successful, if this thing dies in the Senate, it opens the floodgates for ISPs and for large corporations to then come in and buy up the internet, buy up our access to it, charge us for access to it. Not only that, but control the speed of the stream for different shows. Like if you were trying to watch this show, if you were trying to listen to your show, if you were trying to watch Jimmy's show or somebody, that stream could easily be throttled.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would be incumbent on me, or incumbent on you, or incumbent on Jimmy Dore or fucking Nico House or whoever to pay for a faster speed with which to broadcast from.
Mm-hmm. Or incumbent on the audience to pay for faster speed on their end in order to grab whatever is out there. Either way, it's that's not good. Either way, we want to see the movement on the net neutrality, and have that not have that come to pass.
I'm chasing shade.
He's back.
I told you I'd be chasing shade. I thought I muted that. Yeah, it's not chilly here right
No, I
now.
can tell.
I did leave my phone sitting in the hot sun, so I'm probably going to go grab that. But so while I risk my phone's life, um, I do want to point out that there's a handful of different actions that are taking place that people are doing. There's ways that you can help if you're watching the stream. You can go to fightforthefuture.com. You can go, there's EFF, electronic fight.
Frontier.
Yes.
Frontier Foundation.
Yes, those guys hold actions all throughout this state a lot. There's legislation in California that kind of mirrors what's going on with net neutrality right now that's happening today. So there's a ton of different ways that you can get involved. Please look into that. I'm going to go rescue my phone.
Okay.
If you have any thoughts or opinions on how other people could help, please express those.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not super well versed in what's going on with net neutrality right now, and how to get involved. So I'm going to lean on you, but I do have lots of ideas in terms of how people can be better consumers of news and better consumers of media, so that you're getting better information. And I think that a lot of people, I know that people who are finding Slow News Day are already pretty good at this. You know, they're already seeking out independent content producers. I hate that word, content producer. But they're already seeking out independent content, and they're already, not doing the thing where you sit down in front of the television and you switch between MSNBC and CNN and your local news channels. So if you're already out there getting independent content, then that's a really good thing. Like the next step up from that is to support independent content, support people through their Patreons and super chats and all that sort of thing. But this is what I tell people all the time is it's not good enough to subscribe to a network or to a channel. What really helps in terms of being an informed person is to follow the reporters and follow the writers who are doing the work that is that's most informative, because
I couldn't agree with you more on that. If you were about to name names, then please do.
Well, yeah, my all-star list is like when I go to Twitter in the morning, I search for the regular people that I want to see if they've published anything. So I go to see if Aaron Mattei has published anything, or Max Blumenthal, or Ben Norton. I like to check Yasha Levine's stream. He doesn't write as much in like news stories. He does more longer form stuff, but he shares a lot of really important information. Help me out here. What are some of your go-tos?
I go to Mint Press News all the time.
Yes.
That outlet is doing what journalism is supposed to look like all the time. I finally got a hold of Whitney Webb. I'm gonna have her on a podcast episode here in a week or so. That'll be really cool. I find that I cite her work a lot, So I thought, why the hell not throw it out there and see if I can't get this person whose work I cite all the freaking time onto the show. So that's going to happen. Consortium News, Joe Loria's outlet, I really enjoy. I get, maybe enjoy isn't the right word, but informs me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I hate when I put I hate when I put like I spent like 2 days ago. I just listed off a crap ton of people.
Well, Whitney Webb has done a lot on this the new electronic elections technology. We were talking about this on a message group.
Yeah,
there, and that's a story. That's a huge story. Mint Press News is the only place I've seen cover it in depth, and it's something that when I bring it up to other people, no one is aware of this. That Microsoft essentially is going to insert itself into 2020 elections.
So Jason and I actually did a live stream on this like last week. It's what prompted me to initially reach out to Whitney Webb. Lee Camp did something on it right after that story broke a couple of weeks ago. But I'm not sure who else is talking about it. Ron Placone may have.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. It's one of those things that is just tragically underreported. I will talk to strangers about it, just in town. Like, hey, did you know that Microsoft and the Pentagon have teamed up to secure our elections? How do you feel about that?
Mm-hmm.
How does that sentence make you feel? And there's big tech all over here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where they decided to gentrify about 10 years ago. They know what that means. Lockheed Martin's right up there. There's a lot of people that are compartmentalized and go team about Lockheed Martin, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people that are eventually honest with themselves and understand who they work for, and then have to come to terms with, I absolutely facilitated in war crimes for the health insurance. Like it's a weird thing. But I talk to those people too. Those people are around, they exist. They're, trying to find a voice or trying to find a way to communicate without putting people in danger. And that kind of thing is happening. But yeah, it's one of those things where if we talked about it, we would have to acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing that the same people who are pushing to make sure net neutrality is dead, and the same people that are pushing advertisers for the control of information on YouTube, they don't want that information to be part of the regular conversation.
Right. No. The only time you hear about election integrity in Florida, of all places, where we had 10-hour lines to vote not too long ago. The only time we've heard about election integrity in the last while has been with regard to whether or not there's this bogus story about whether or not Russia hacked supervisor of election sites. And it's a totally bogus story. What happens all the time is there are web bots that crawl the web and they ping whatever's out there. They ping sites. And so, an administrator will see, oh, we got pinged from a server in somewhere in Asia or Russia, and they freak out and they think that means that they've been hacked by Russia, and it doesn't. That's not what it means. And the SOEs have been really vocal in pushing back on that and saying, look, we've not been hacked by the Russians. But I just bring that up because that's the only time that anyone has cited election integrity as an issue that we should be interested in. When, at the same time, Florida was the site of all kinds of purging in 2000 and again in 2004 and so on and so forth. There's the cross-check purges There's all kinds of funny business with the electronic scanners with ballots, like elections where more people. There was one in Sarasota in a special election where more people voted than should have been in the precincts.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing, where it's just really obvious that something's gone amiss. Now, I don't know what happened in Tim Canova's race this time around, but for damn sure, the last time around when he made the request to examine the ballots and they just shredded them after getting the subpoena. Now that's just flat out wrong.
Well, he's got a different case against Broward for the 2018 fraud. We have videotape of people getting out of their cars with boxes of ballots.
That's right.
Loading them on to an Enterprise rental truck.
That's right.
We've got boxes of ballots that were discovered in janitors' closets. We've got entire precincts that don't know what happened, and all across the board, from Republican, Democrat, and Independent, Tim Canova received exactly 5% of the vote.
Wow, that's right. Wow, it's all kind of flooding back now.
Yeah.
It's all freaking bullshit. Well, you know,
I had him on at the beginning of the year because he was starting a new election integrity initiative. And I need to have a follow-up with him on that because he's had like at least a successful motion go forward in a court case against, I think, Brenda Snipes specifically, if not Broward County in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, and kind of, you know, circling back around to the YouTube election, you know, this weekend in particular, with the Crowder and Mazza situation, you know, that whole thing, like when we were talking about this particular issue, one of the things that you said was that there could be a problem of the field getting crowded with content creators. And, you know, in a way, I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more concerned because I feel like we can probably work it out. But then shit happens like this last weekend with this Crowder Mazza situation, and people who are total allies 100% of the time somehow got sideways with each other, you know, vis-a-vis free speech on one side and whether you're being a good LGBTQ ally. And, you know, I just kind of stepped back from the whole thing because I was like, I felt like if I said anything on either side, that I was gonna just step in it.
I did step in it, and I was going to be on the side of you don't run to big tech to do censorship for you in general. But I automatically got lumped in with, oh, you're the same kind of piece of shit Jimmy Dore is for this. And like, look, dude, you don't have to agree with people 100% of the time on everything. And because Jimmy Dore's not focusing on your specific part of the issue at the moment doesn't mean that he's a fucking piece of shit 100% of the time. Or
right.
that, you know, or that anybody else is, for that matter. If you're a horrible human being who makes their money targeting fucking a particular community that's been marginalized and tortured, fucking abused for decades, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be the reaction, and that's going to be the authentic and well deserved, you know, like that's coming from a very real place. And I think that that the leftists like us who are also saying, you know, look, you don't want big tech, you really don't want big tech out there censoring people or given license to do that, because, you know, right now they're censoring Crowder, which is a good thing. But if in 2 days they're censoring, counterpoints, or somebody that's awesome on the LGBT side, then that's going to be fucked up, and we're going to have a hard time, pushing back on it.
Well, and that's you saw this play out with however many thousands of channels were deleted as a result of this.
Oh, yeah.
Thousands of channels were demonetized based on the title of their video, regardless of what content they were actually producing. The algorithm is always designed to punish dissent. And why people on the left, and I had it out with Jason a little bit about this, because he's much more to several degrees more authoritarian on that left scale of the compass than I am. We forget that there are authoritarian leftists out there. And that to them, like, oh no, I should be the arbiter of speech, and this is how I view speech, and this is what I believe should and should not be acceptable speech, is how that thought process works. And like, I'm never going to jive with that thought process. It's never going to click with me, regardless of what flag you're waving while you say it. You know what I mean?
I think that people who I'm a little bit older, and I remember being in middle school and learning about, they hammered free speech into our little brains from the time we were kids. And, it was that, and it was the separation of powers, and, all of the civic stuff that I don't think people are getting anymore. And I think that there's that, when you don't grow up with that, and maybe that's its own dogma, maybe that's its own ideology, but I have a real fear of bringing in for-profit organizations to do any kind of censorship. And what they're doing with the Nazi stuff is just insane. Teachers and people, historians who have been working on exposing fascism and critiquing nationalism and Nazis in the United States and worldwide, they're the ones who are getting swept up in this dragnet. It's not just, and still the Nazis are still out there. Still the white nationalists are cruising along without any trouble, it seems.
I believe Steven Crowder's channel is even monetized again.
Yeah, they just made him take down the T-shirt. And you're right.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're going to push for a society where we've allowed the consent to be manufactured, we're now in manufactured confusion, then you grow, like, I have 3 kids. I have 2 teenagers are not here currently, thank God. They're in the river, not literally in the river, but at the river.
In the river.
Of their volition, not in a sack or anything. Like, they're going to come home is what I'm thinking. Anywho, I see what they're into, and I see that the manufactured confusion has got them thinking that, like, free speech is the same thing as being incredibly hateful or bigoted. And I understand that it is, but that, like that's the only kind. That's what free speech is that extreme to the far right excessive speech. Like, that's what free speech has come to represent, is what I'm getting at. And that, like,
that's where the rub is.
To that, dissenting voices to that aren't even going to be considered, least of all when it's time to write a new censorship algorithm.
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of people get warning letters and get demonetized and it's the algorithm, and they look for false flag. They look for any discussion of 9/11, which will probably shake out with this Jon Stewart hearing today, where he's talking about trying to get benefits for the 9/11 responders. If you've got 9/11 in your in your description or in your video, that's gonna put up a red flag. These
Right.
algorithms are stupid. They're not people. They can't make a value judgment. All they can do is search and find a keyword.
No, but I was seeing a new corporatist pulling a Mitt Romney and saying that algorithms are people, my friend. Like,
Oh
that's
my God.
where my fucking head went. It'll probably be Andrew Yang.
Right. Well, you said that we've gone from manufactured consent to manufactured confusion. I don't think they need our consent anymore. I think that and so confusion makes a lot of sense. I think also what they're trying to manufacture is conformity. Oh, did we get lost again? There you are. I think that YouTube has a built-in time limit on us.
Oh,
Are you there?
absolutely.